There's loads of PlayStation hardware that most people are familiar with.
However, beyond these critically acclaimed devices, the PlayStation hardware ecosystem has diversity to it richer than many might think. Take the largely forgotten PSX, for example, a DVR and PS2 combo that only saw release in Japan, or how about in today's case, the largely forgotten awesome cartridge-based system that the Japanese gaming giants made alongside arcade legends Taito. Bearing that in mind, let's discuss this obscure chapter in gaming's history as we begin to unravel the past of this enigmatic technology.
So with that said, I am Lady Decade and this is the story of the Taito G-Net PlayStation hardware.
On this channel in recent weeks, we have discussed the history of Sega's arcade cabinets and the hardware of the noughties, an industry safe haven the company would retreat to when home console times were tough. Much of the struggles that Sega faced in the home market were thanks to Sony, the mid-1990s upstart that took a failed Nintendo partnership to become one of the defining combatants for your hard-earned coinage. But Sony? Well, we have to remember that this consumer electronics company didn't really even enter the home console space until the early 1990s, and after their failed attempt to bring compact disc gaming to the Super Famicom and the unexpected birth of the Sony PlayStation, did Sony manage to find the appropriate way to enter the arcade space too?
Well, let's discuss.
Largely historically existing as an electronics components company, Sony would find itself in the arcade thanks to a partnership with Taito, of all companies. You know, the legendary entity behind classics that remain household names even today, such as Space Invaders, Bubble Bobble and Gypsy Juggler. No one will ever forget Gypsy Juggler. As for this partnership, while the history of Sony is often discussed on YouTube ad nauseum, the origins of Taito are a little less well trodden. Formed in 1953 as the Taito Trading Company, it took 2 decades before they'd start producing what they are most famed for today: video games. Iconic franchises such as Arkanoid, Quicks and Elevator Action would be crafted for the arcade, and believe it or not, at one point in history, the company even decided that they were going to enter the home console wars themselves. This was when they decided to make a CD-ROM based console known as the Wow Wow. Intended to be the home console equivalent of their arcade machines like the Neo Geo, the device was named after a same-named Japanese television station and would have also embraced satellite distribution of games, much like Nintendo's Satellaview. We have covered both of these obscure pieces of hardware in the past on here, so I'll be sure to link those uploads at the end of this video. After the abandonment of the Wow Wow, Taito's dreams of a new hardware platform with interchangeable media wouldn't be deterred, which of course brings us to their partnering with Sony in 1998.
Resulting in the release of a system known as the G-Net.
The G-Net was a cartridge-based arcade system created collaboratively with Sony, created in the time frame when the PlayStation brand was famed for kicking Nintendo and Sega's asses in the home arena with their CD-ROM based technology. These interchangeable cartridges were bulky PC MCIA2 carts that had been created so that Taito and Sony could work together, tag teaming to defeat Sega's arcade hardware dominance. The hope was that this pairing could provide a system board appealing enough that they could get game makers to shift their development to the new kid on the block. However, given that this impressive piece of kit only ever saw 22 games released for the platform, it was never quite as successful as they had hoped. Still, today that does not detract from this mysterious hardware's allure, so let's continue to explore its largely overlooked past right now. Largely based on the PlayStation, the system was a 32-bit machine that could display up to 740 by 480 resolution with 16.7 million colours available with up to 360,000 polygons per second. While Sony was known for their sound chips, Panasonic of all companies would provide the sound CPU. Much of the console library saw release between 1998 to 2005 and could easily be divided into 2 classes, neither of which could immediately be recognised as PlayStation standards. While Sony was dominating the console generation with its commitment to 3D gaming, featuring blazing fast action and adventures with games like Wipeout, Crash Bandicoot and Metal Gear Solid, the G-Net would largely be split between puzzle games and shooters, two genres that continue to flourish in arcades over in Japan. Titles like Shanghai Shoryu Siren, Shanghai Sangoku Haitugi and Suten Ryu brought Shanghai Mahjong to the arcades. Probably a bit of an oddity to Westerners, however, if you know anything about Japanese gaming history, you will know that the general public can't get enough of these sorts of games. Through a Western lens though, while Mahjong can be an entertaining diversion, do you really want to be that guy in an arcade pounding yen into the machine while players alongside you were tackling Soul Calibur and Marvel vs Capcom 2? Well, apparently there were enough of these boring fuddy-duddies out there to make this commercially viable.
I guess titles like this would bring a sense of calm to the tired and stressed out salarymen.
However, if you didn't like the solitary aspect of Mahjong, the G-Net would continue to squeeze out more of this game by creating multiple competitive versions of the game for the arcade line. Mahjong O and Usagi look to bring multiplayer experiences, which I guess would make a bit more sense in an arcade setting, as you would get the glory of competitive Mahjong without having to deal with the pieces. Let's be honest, we can't all have the awesome table from the climax of crazy rich Asians reshuffling the pieces for us, can we? If Mahjong titles aren't your thing but you're used to card games, Otonami Hiken and its follow-up Otonami Hiken Final brought a variety of card games to the machine. This would allow strange individuals to get amped to play Uno amongst the hustle and bustle of Virtua Fighters and Initial D cabinets.
Japan. It's a very silly place.
Beyond these more conservative offerings, fortunately a handful of more interesting puzzlers would be released for the line, much more akin to what you would expect in the wake of Tetris, Puyo Puyo and Columns. Often, Kurorin Weather Tales and the unfortunately named Colon, Flip Maze and even the classic Buster Move franchises are represented here as a Super Puzzle Bobble, and even shades of Baku Baku Animal can be seen with the game Zoo.
Not Zoo. Zoo, with 3 O's. You have to say it like this, zoo, like Zach Brannigan.
The key to victory is the element of surprise. Surprise!
For those who couldn't decide on a single game and arcade owners who were looking for the most bang for their buck, Zoku Otonami Hiken brought a number of traditional minigames to one cabinet. Featuring pool, Shanghai and chess amongst this package, the true minigame highlight is a title called Turn It Around, also known as Mawasunda. This collection of minigames featuring original challenges alongside Taito classics features 2 massive cranks for players to turn. If anything, it's the most creative experience of the series, bringing a new way to play Arkanoid to audiences about a decade after most people would even be able to remember what Arkanoid was. This wouldn't be the only game released with a unique control scheme, as the hardware would also feature RC De Go, an RC car racing game which would support a controller that mimicked the one you would use to play with a real remote controlled car. Truly though, the real excellence of the Taito G-Net would not relate to any of these titles, but in my opinion instead its impressive legacy of shooters, with a few being well celebrated to this day. During this era, Taito would embrace its legacy with Space Invaders Anniversary, a collection of 6 different variants of the legendary title that famously changed the trajectory of arcades forever. The compilation typically features the original Space Invaders game alongside various sequels, spin-offs and remakes, allowing players to experience the evolution of the franchise over the years. Overall, Space Invaders Anniversary serves as a tribute to one of the most influential and enduring video game franchises in history, providing both nostalgic value for longtime fans and an introduction to the series for newcomers. 12 Stag, an original shooter for the platform from Triangle Service, would also arrive on the hardware. It's a vertically scrolling shooter known for its challenging gameplay, colourful graphics and intricate bullet patterns. In this game, players control a spaceship and navigate through various levels while shooting enemies and dodging projectiles. 12 Stag received positive reviews for its fast-paced action and addicting gameplay, making it a popular choice among fans of the shoot-'em-up genre. The game would become notable enough to be re-released on the PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 and PC. Building on these, Shikigami no Shiro, better known as the Castle of Shikigami to English speakers, would also arrive on the board. Known as Mobile Light Force 2 at the time of release in America, likewise it would see ports to the PlayStation 2, Xbox and Windows. In truth, the title was unrelated to the original Mobile Light Force game, which itself was simply Gunbird, another title completely.
Localization practices are weird.
Available on Steam as of 2017, the platform describes the title as a dark, supernatural, vertically scrolling shoot-'em-up classic. Set in summer 2005, Tokyo's Metropolitan Police Force is investigating an occult serial killer, and specialists have been called in to investigate. The case is called the Castle of Shikigami Incident. Spawning multiple sequels, this is a good-looking arcade shooter featuring a graphical style similar to the legendary Radiant Silver Gun. It's this style of goodness that the Japanese arcades are all about. 1998's Ray Crisis would be the third in the Ray series of games and would find a home port in 2000 on the original PlayStation as Ray Crisis Series Termination, confusingly, as it is actually a prequel to Ray Force. One notable feature of Ray Crisis is its dynamic level generation system, which creates stages based on the player's performance and progress. This system ensures that each playthrough feels unique and offers a degree of replayability. The game also introduces a new scoring mechanic called the lock-on laser, which allows players to target multiple enemies simultaneously for higher scores. C-Net would describe the PlayStation port as a beautiful looking piece of work, but bemoan the slowdown in the port attributed to the sheer volume of action thrown the player's way. But overall, the game is often praised for its contribution to the genre's evolution on the PlayStation platform. Night Raid may look like a bullet hell title, but when Hardcore Gaming 101 looked at the game in the past, they would note that although it appears to align with bullet hell conventions, its design diverges from many of these norms. In fact, it falls short of realising its full potential, lacking the innovation seen in its developers' earlier projects. However, rushing to dismiss the game based on these shortcomings would overlook its unique exploration of unconventional sensibilities. Night Raid's departure from tradition presents both conceptual frustrations and intriguing experiences, charting a path rarely ventured by its peers, so for those reasons, it should be written off completely. Cyvaria is a shoot-'em-up arcade game developed by Success Corporation. The game gained popularity for its unique gameplay mechanics, particularly its buzz system, where players can intentionally fly close to enemy bullets to increase their score multiplier. The closer the player's ship gets to the bullets, the higher the multiplier becomes, but it also increases the risk of getting hit. Known for its challenging gameplay, intricate bullet patterns, and scoring mechanics that appeal to hardcore shoot-'em-up fans, there is a lot to love about this game. Pair this with the title's visual style and soundtrack, the game received praise for its retro-inspired aesthetics and energetic tunes. In addition to these, we have Chaos Heat, the surprising spiritual successor to Capcom's Cannon Spike. The 3D action game runs like a beat-em-up, but with a focus on shooting gameplay. Probably the most unique title on the platform outside of the crank-yanking fun we mentioned earlier, some have noticed that the game's mechanics are remarkably advanced for a title from 1998. Chaos Heat immerses players in a captivating 3D realm, offering dynamic hack and slay experiences, enriched with an arsenal of contemporary weaponry ranging from flamethrowers to machine guns and grenades. Set within the confines of a biotech laboratory, adventurers find themselves pitted against hordes of zombie-like creatures. With every step, the tension mounts as players must employ strategic prowess and lightning-fast reflexes to overcome relentless adversaries and unravel the mysteries concealed within the lab's ominous confines. In this adrenaline-fueled battle for survival, Chaos Heat thrusts players into the heart of a gripping experience. Despite not attaining the status of an iconic classic, Chaos Heat certainly deserves a little more credit than it currently receives, in part perhaps due to no home port ever coming to be. In spite of its underappreciated status, Chaos Heat stands as a testament to the G-Net's charm. So what can we make from all of this? I guess that we can say that the Taito G-Net was certainly a thing. It's not a great thing, nor a bad thing, but it's definitely arcade hardware that has highlights which deserve a little more attention today. Comment below which other arcade hardware you think deserves covering on here, then why not check out my old uploads on the PSX or Taito Wow Wow. See you soon.